used to have one years ago, but the wheel fell off. Hello, bienvenue and willkommen to Veefour. Back on the 210. Hey, check it out. A few little upgrades. I've put some crash protection on at last, on the crash bungs, on the front axle, the rear axle, and on the frame protectors here. So if I do have a bit of an off-ski, it won't damage too much. I've also put a bit of a fender eliminator on now. Doesn't that look so much nicer? Yeah, what are they playing at, putting them big stupid fenders on? Anyway, so today I should like to tell you all about my latest adventure. A couple of days ago I went and revisited the Ron Haslam race school at Donington Park in the UK, and I did their very fine elite course. Now, I did a review a couple of weeks back on the Ron Haslam race school premier course, which was riding the CBR 600RR with sorry, concentrate Dave, concentrate. Yeah. Oh, come on, Tessie! Yeah! What was I saying? Oh yeah, yes, I'd been on the premier course. I'd ridden the CBR 600RR, and it was excellent, but that led nicely into being able to do the elite course. And all things about the premiership, the premier course, were basically positive, and it fueled me up to carry on a bit of training and do the elite course, which is 1-to-1 tuition this time on a Fireblade 1000. So I signed up for it straight after finishing the premier course, because it had been a kick-ass day. Well, I went on it the other day, so I'm going to give you a little chat about the elite course. And what happened to me there. It was fantastic, but when I arrived, it was well, I was greeted by this. Now that is something you don't want to see when you're arriving at a racetrack for a racing session on a 1000cc sports bike. And that was the local air ambulance arriving to take someone to hospital who had had a bit of a nasty high side on the Goddard's hairpin. It's going to slow down for the horsey here and in fact kill the engine. I like horses, don't want to spook them out. Tessie is quite loud. Anyway, so it turned out that the rider that had fallen was actually one of the instructors who was instructing the earlier the earlier elite course, and he had made some kind of rear observation looking at his student while he was coming round the Goddard's hairpin onto the Wheatcroft start-finish straight, and he just high-sided it. So this goes to show you, you know, even the most experienced people have them. But he was quite badly injured and apparently had some kind of internal bleeding, and I'm really hoping he's okay. He didn't seem overly concerned. They were talking about him at the rides at the school, and you know, I could hear them describing what had happened, and the tone of the voice wasn't overly concerned, so I think it wasn't as serious as it sounded, and I hope the fella's on the road to recovery now and gets back on it soon, so my best wishes go out to him. But all professionalism, the school resumed its activities once the ambulances and the helicopter had left.
to getting a wheel up there, that was good.
And I was introduced to my instructor, who was a fella called Graham Ward. Now he looked kind of familiar and I couldn't think where I'd seen him before. So I asked him about himself, you know, what his provenance is. And he's, I mean, he doesn't look it, but he's like 6 years older than me, he's in his 50s. And he was riding British superbikes back in the mid-90s amongst such heady company as Rocket Ron himself, Jamie Whittam, Niall Mackenzie, people like that, you know, and Carl Fogarty. He was up amongst all them lot. But you know, he was a pro at the time, fully qualified and suitably experienced to show a lay person like me how to do it anyway. So I was introduced to Graham, and I think I recognised him, but it was going back 20 years since he was last active. And from there he took me out and introduced me to my steed for the day, which was a 2013 Honda CBR 1000 Fireblade. Basically like the 600, a fully stock factory machine, but all the running gear, lights and such switch gear all taken off, and along with the original bodywork and a set of glass fibre racing bodywork put on it. So you know, it was a nice sleek looking black bike, but bog standard. It had ABS but no traction control or anything like that, but a full 180 horsepower 1000cc motor. So with very little to do, he just basically said, right, well, we'll go out. Yeah, you see it, Dick. Distracted by the Egypt. Right, so he didn't sort of lay out a lesson plan or anything, and what we're going to do, he said, right, we'll just go out this first session, we'll do like 20 minutes, and we'll do a couple of laps sighting at lower speeds, and then we'll speed up. So we went out, and straight away the Fireblade is a lot more radical seating position than the 600 was. I found the 600 more comfortable, but straight away super powerful bike. You know, it'd lift the front wheel in first, second and third as you accelerated. So you know, we got out, and the bike has telemetry on it, so he was able to record things like the wheel speeds, you know, the actual bike speed, whether the brakes were active, the throttle position, things like that. So worked our way back into it, went back in for the first debrief. He downloads the telemetry, he looks at it, shows it me, and he says, right, this time I want you to get the throttle wide open as often as you can. Now, anyone who's ever been to Donington or watched racing at Donington Park on the TV or in person, or listened to any kind of commentary, punditry about the circuit, will probably be aware that Donington Park Grand Prix circuit in the UK is a track of two halves. That is to say that the first half, which is at the end of the start-finish Wheatcroft Straight, there's a sharp right-hander called Red Gates, and from there onwards it's a very swoopy, curvy track and undulates and goes gradually uphill. No straights, but you know, plenty of passing opportunity sort of zones, but a very sweeping track that just flows from corner to corner until you get to a double apex corner called Coppice, and from there back to the start-finish straight, where you round it back on start-finish straight at Goddard's. It's just straight lines of track with a corner at the end, so it's accelerate, brake, accelerate, brake. Now Graham had given me some quite good little bit of advice about riding on a racetrack, and it was that when you're riding on a track, you're doing one of three things. You're either accelerating, decelerating or turning, and that's the only three things you're doing. And he said, as soon as we come round Coppice, as soon as the bike is upright, full throttle, absolutely full throttle, hold it on all the way down the back straight, the fastest part of the track, and brake when you reach the braking zone area, which is marked out by red cones, or brake when you feel it's appropriate. So, and that's, he said, that's all I want to concentrate on these next couple of sessions, is this half of the track, which is all the straight lines and all the sort of like, you know, the harsh braking. He said, get used to feeling the bike, get used to the way it brakes, and gradually lap on lap, brake later, brake harder, you know, and that's what we did for the next session. And boy, oh boy, wow. I mean, the CBR is about the same sort of power as Tessie here, but it's only when you get these bikes on a track that you realise just how powerful they are. Because yeah, you can roll on and, you know, let the speed build up on a highway or a freeway if you're in the other parts of the country, or the motorway in the UK. Yeah, you can cane it and get it up well over 150 miles an hour. It all seems very fast, but it's when you're on that limited amount of space. For example, you come out of Coppice on Donington, and between there and the Fogarty S's is just a straight bit of track that has a bit of a dip in it 3/4 of the way along. And it's only when you realise that you've only got this finite amount of space to nail the throttle open in third gear and then haul on the brakes before you hit the foggy S's, so you can get off the seat and in a position to take the S-bend. And it's like, it's literally that quick, because you know, you're hitting like 150 miles an hour before you start to brake. And as I mentioned about this dip in the track, every single lap from then on, just as I was passing about 130 miles an hour, it hit this dip, and every single lap the front wheel would lift at 130 odd miles an hour. And the first time it did, it was a bit of a, oh, bloody fucking hell, you know, it was one of those sort of moments. The handlebars shook as the wheel hit back down again. I was like, bloody hell. But after that, every lap it did it, and it was just natural, it was normal. And it's very, very odd just how quickly you get used to riding a bike like that at such high speeds and braking so late, and, you know, just how aggressively you can ride when you put your mind to it. And that was kind of how the session went after that. Graham, we finished that session and he downloaded my telemetry and showed me, and just showed it that I had, just by riding that much more aggressively on the straight parts of the track, I'd knocked 30 seconds off my lap time. And we just sort of carried on like that basically for the rest of the session, getting quicker and quicker, braking later and later, and it was superb in respect to the one of the few complaints I had about the Premier course, was the fact that you were constantly being pulled off the race line by the instructor. Well, it was now my turn to come through while the Premier courses were pulled off the race line, and it felt quite nice. So I was able to go as fast as I dared, and I was able to work on me riding position. And you can see from these pictures here, from the pictures of the Premier course where I was on the red CBR, to where I'm on the elite course on the black CBR, you can see how my position's improved greatly. I was getting the bike further over in the corners, a couple of bits of knee scraping. I don't know if you can see it, but I finally managed to scuff up my knee sliders, which was nice. So I was quite happy with my cornering abilities, although I felt that I was entering the corners a little bit too early and not sort of nailing the apexes too much. But to be fair, in the sessions that we had, and I spent like about an hour and 10 minutes actually on the racetrack, I'm glad that Graham got me into the speed aspect more than the cornering aspect, because he's obviously identified that that's what I needed. And so that's kind of what I learned from the day. was throttle control, brake control, and sort of entry and exit speeds into corners. I would actually like to do a further session a bit later in the year to concentrate more on the section of the track between what's it called, Redgate and the Coppice. So yeah, so I think I'm kind of hooked. What I liked about the Elite course over the Premier course is that it was all kept separate. It was all done in a different part of the building, all the debrief, and it wasn't quite as, it's a bit odd to say intense, because it certainly was more intense because of the speeds we were doing, but the instructor style, because there's just one-on-one, was a bit more relaxed. You know, the room that they had set aside for the Elite course was very, very well appointed. Lots of snacks and drinks and things like that. Plenty of coffee and water and chips and dips, things like that. You know, just to keep you hydrated and fed in between sessions. And it was like all was laid on, and it was just a pretty magical day, I've got to say. An absolute highlight of the day was, I mean, I'd met Ron on the previous one, but I had a bit more of a chat with Ron Haslam, and he is such a nice, down-to-earth fella. You know, he's not up himself at all. He's remembered where he's come from, and he's you know, there's a couple of guys there, I think they were from Korea, who were obviously big motorbike fans and had come to do the Elite course, and he sat and did a selfie for him and had a bit of a chat with them. And I mean, this other fella had a chat with him about Leon's race the previous Sunday in the World Superbike, his son Ron Haslam, who also arrived and turned up and held court for a little bit. So I got to chat to Ron Haslam. That was brilliant. I just get to, because my current hero, because he rides an Aprilia RS Veefour, you know, it was just a really great day. You know, I mean, the bike riding aside, it was just to be in such heavy company, you know, and it was absolutely worth every penny of what I actually paid was £350 sterling. It's normally £395, but I got a disco for booking straight after my Premier course, which I thought was a nice touch, and we got 25 quid of that back in photographs, which were very well taken, although I was a bit fed up that the photographer didn't catch me getting my knee down on Melbourne hairpin, but I did take my word for it. So yeah, excellent, absolutely excellent. So if you're a sports bike rider who is looking to improve your skills, or looking maybe to do a track day in the future, but you know, want to feel a bit more prepared for it, then as an investment in yourself, doing the Ron Haslam Premier course and then closely follow that with doing the Ron Haslam Elite course is absolutely money well spent. Apart from it being just absolutely immense fun on both courses, you will build so much skill that, and I know I say it a lot, that I've got 27 years riding, but things like the two courses I've just done have just consolidated in me what I've always suspected all along, that I'm a pretty average rider. You know, I'm a safe rider. Put me on a road, I'm a safe rider, but I'm not a dynamic rider. But riding such well sorted fast motorbikes around a world-class racetrack with top flight instruction can only be a good thing. So putting aside the absolute kick-ass days that you will have, what you learn is absolutely priceless, because it translates to the road, even if you're not like speeding about, which you shouldn't do. Veefour does not encourage racing on the public highways of the world, but even even if he's just taking corners at higher speeds and being safe in order to do so. So, pros and cons of the Ron Haslam Race School Elite course. The pros are you get to ride a superbly set up and maintained late model CBR 1000 Fireblade. You get to ride it with one-to-one instruction from a superbly experienced ex-pro bike rider around a absolutely immaculate world-class racetrack. The facilities are superb, the organisation is absolutely spot on. It's a family firm, so it's, you know, I think it's run by Ron's wife, but the facilities are good, the amenities are good. There's snacks, drinks, all for free. You get a bit of a goodie bag at the end of it with a printout of your best lap telemetry, which just showed me how crap I am really, but it was quite good. And for all those pros, what cons are there? None that I can think of. No. The few little, and there were only minor little cons about the Premier course, just weren't present on the Elite course. You weren't pulled off the race line. I was once or twice for another Elite rider who was on a faster lap than me, but it quite literally only was once or twice, and it was me that was passing all the Premier guys this time. And you're given more time on track than the Premier. It's minimum an hour, but ours about an hour and 10 minutes, you know, so good long sessions, certainly long enough that that you get good and tired. Any more than the 20 minutes and I would have been flagging a little bit personally. I must admit, at the end of the last one I was quite glad when the checkered flag come out, because I was starting to lose my concentration a bit, and you know, and yeah, that's where accidents happen. But no, the instructor, Graham, knew exactly when to bring me in and to brief me up, and I have absolutely no cons about it whatsoever. If it had been raining on the day or something like that, then it might have been a bit of a miserable affair, but no, the track was dry, a few little spots in the air didn't manifest into anything worthwhile, and it was just all round a great day. I was buzzing for hours after it, couldn't sleep that night for the amount of adrenaline and complimentary Monster energy drink in my system. And all in all, a superb and worthwhile experience, and I would heartily recommend it to anyone who rides a motorbike at all, if you just want to have a bit of fun on a motorbike. But if you want to improve your riding, if you've got aspirations to do track days and you want to do them safely and fast, then it's money well spent. Consider it an investment. For the price of the £395 UK, it's an absolute no-brainer. And after the day itself, I think it's very, very reasonable. For what it actually costs to do, I think it's a reasonable amount of money to pay for a not unreasonable amount of experience and fun. So do it. If you're visiting the UK from abroad, or if you're like me, you're fortunate enough to live here, book yourself in and go and do it. It gets 2 thumbs up from the Veefour. Oh yeah! Now I'm just off for a bit of a ride on Tessie now. So, from me, Veefour, I will see you later.